Hey everyone, it is so great to be with you today on Read Through the Word, and it is May the 25th. Now, I have to tell you, today's lesson, I had to fight for it. I really did. And before I even turned on the camera to start recording, I was having this conversation with God about Solomon, because I'm just having some problems with him. I'm reconciling what he's doing and the way that he's living his life so extravagantly, knowing that God promised that in his dream to him, that he was going to bless. And Solomon never asked for any of this. All he asked for was wisdom. I'm hashing out my thoughts with you, kind of like we're in a small group together, okay? So knowing that he didn't ever ask for any of that. He only asked for wisdom. And God promised him wealth. He promised him prosperity. He promised him power. He promised him all of these things. Knowing how he would handle it. And still continuing to bless him with those things. So maybe you can kind of see my rub. Does God bless us? And I don't know the answer to this question. I promise I'm not like throwing this out here rhetorically. Like I know the answer and it's like, oh, think about this. Here, this is truly my question and I don't even know what side of the fence I land on this. Does God bless us and continue to bless us? Not just with everyday common grace, but beyond the common grace of life, breath, food, protection, those kinds of things. Does he continue to bless us when we're blatantly living outside of his standards? Have y'all ever questioned that? In fact, I really wasn't even going to go into any of this in a lesson, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this. If y'all are, if you're Facebooking, girls, there's some people that are on Facebook, some people. Seriously, I would love to know your thoughts on that. Because this is what it appears to me. Because I feel like Solomon's a fence rider. I really do. But yet, God continues. He continues to fulfill what he said he was going to give him. And he said he was going to give him all of those things knowing how he was going to live. I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know when y'all do your reading, but so just 1 Kings 10, starting with verse 14. I'm not going to read it all, but it talks about the tons of gold that he received from the different kings, and that he made large shields, 200 large shields of hammered gold, each weighing 15 pounds. 300 smaller shields of hammered gold, each weighing 4 pounds. And the king placed these shields in the palace of the forests of Lebanon. He made a huge throne decorated with ivory and overlaid with fine gold. And then he goes on and talks about the cups being solid gold and the utensils and the fleet of trading ships. And he became richer and wiser than any king on earth. Year after year, everyone who visited him with gifts of silver and clothing and weapons and spices and horses and mules. I don't even know that I'm even making sense. But when I got to verse 26, and actually what stopped me, another thing that started this whole conversation about our lesson today was over in 2 Chronicles 8:11, when it says he moved his wife, Pharaoh's daughter, from the city of David to the new palace he had built for her. So he built her a palace. Okay, so then we've got that 2 Chronicles 8:11 verse, and then we have 1 Kings 10, Verse 26, Solomon built up huge forces of chariots and horses. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horses. Okay, so this is what God's word said about the situation with future kings. They must not build up large stables of horses for himself or send his people to Egypt to buy horses, for the Lord has told you. This is what he said about wives, about marriage. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united as one. Because for me, we're either in or out. We're all in or we're out with our faith. And we might mess up. We're going to sin. I'm not saying we're not going to sin, but the believer that's all in their faith is going to sin, but they're going to recognize it right away, and it's not going to be a habitual lifestyle. And this is what Solomon was creating for himself. So this is my problem with it. Fence walking faith doesn't work. We can't be friends with the world and flirt with the fullness of the world and still be faithful to God. We can't. It's impossible. It's impossible. And I included 3 verses that may be familiar to you about this. Romans 12:2, don't copy the customs and behaviors of this world. James 4:4, really, wow. If you want to be a friend of the world, you make yourself an enemy of God. And then 1 John 2:15-16, I have to read this. Do not love this world, nor the things it offers. For when you love the world, you do not love the Father in you. John is saying it's impossible to love this world and love God. It's impossible. We can't do it. For the world offers only cravings of physical pleasure, cravings from everything we see, pride in our achievements and possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from the world. And this world is fading away along with everything the people crave. But anyone who does what God pleases will live forever. And in John's letter in Revelation to one of the churches, the church at Laodicea, but since you are lukewarm, neither hot or cold, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. So I know I've been random in my thoughts for the lesson, but really I've just struggled with the whole thing with him. I mean, he's the wisest king, and he settled the dispute about the baby by saying, hey, let's cut the baby up, that kind of thing. And then Proverbs, there's so many great sayings and challenges to living and how to live virtuously. And there's so much there. The man was so wise. But he's living in habitual sin and continuing to go against God's standards and continuing to be blessed. And is that what God's doing in my life? There's just a lot going on in my head today. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you don't want to post them, email them to me, because I would love to read what you have to say, because I'm just, as you can tell, kind of bouncing all over the place on all of this. Fence walking faith doesn't work. And we're going to see with Solomon's life that it doesn't work. It eventually catches up with him. It does. We'll see you next time. I'll read through the word.